You're going somewhere very bad to do something that'll get you killed. But until that happens, you're my problem.
I just want to review more superhero films, and you're trying to give me a pep talk?
Yeah, those pep talk. Here's your shit. Grab what you need for a fight. We're wheels up in 10.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
What? Won't fit anymore?
Nah. Every time I put this on, a bad movie gets roasted.
And?
I like putting it on.
Goody.
Behold the voice of God.
Oh look, it's Academy Award winner Viola Davis. What's she doing in a crap fest like this?
Remember, I'm watching. I see everything.
Oh, you were a critic too?
There's your pep talk.
So that's it? What, we some kind of movie night? Hello and welcome to Movie Night, I'm Jonathan Paula. It's that time of the year where all the reviewers on YouTube are talking about their favorite films of 2017, so I thought I would take a look at one of my least favorite from 2016. Tonight, in our 9th episode dedicated to superhero films, we'll be reviewing 3 of the most recent installments in the DC Comics film franchise, beginning with Suicide Squad. An ensemble bore. Released in the summer of 2016, this superhero action film grossed $750 million, despite being raked by critics. But it did win an Academy Award for its makeup and hairstyling. The cockamamie plot follows shadowy government-type Viola Davis as she recruits a bunch of unstable criminals to rescue her from an unstable criminal she recruited earlier. Do I have that right? Yeah, this movie is really dumb. DC Comics' desperate attempt to create their own expansive cinematic universe is on full pathetic display in this PG-13 rated film, as character after character are introduced via elaborate flashbacks and pointless montages. The entire first act feels like a lengthy previously on briefing before the final episode of a season-long drama. Obviously, laying this groundwork is necessary, but it would have been far better delivered in a standalone feature or two. Worse still, the disproportionate character development immediately telegraphs which member of the titular mercenary group is expendable to the script, a prediction which is confirmed mere minutes after Slipknot is unceremoniously introduced and then almost immediately dispatched. Although the story is drawn out to 135 minutes, it still feels needlessly rushed, and yet simultaneously it doesn't seem like anyone's in an actual hurry. The characters even take a lengthy pause for some drinks at an abandoned hotel bar. Will Smith does his best with a lazy script, bringing real life and depth to his character, while his beautiful, focused co-star Margot Robbie steals every scene she's in. Her bubbly charisma, psychotic persona, and drop-dead gorgeous good looks create an irresistible cocktail you can't help but enjoy. Their participation saved this film from becoming totally unwatchable.
Hey guys. Come on, let's go.
Meanwhile, Jared Leto's take on the Joker looks like a high schooler's aborted Halloween costume, a precipitous fall from Heath Ledger's indelible performance in The Dark Knight. There's another dozen reasonably prominent names in the cast like Jai Courtney, Joel Kinnaman, or Scott Eastwood, but each and every one is wasted or mishandled. Some brief uncredited appearances from Ben Affleck's Caped Crusader are pretty cool though. Meanwhile, the spastic fight sequences are a mix of poorly choreographed combat mixed with CGI bullshittery. The fact that director David Ayer attempts to juggle a dozen separate characters in dimly lit, nondescript locations doesn't help either. All DC properties seem to be under the impression that dark and gritty automatically equals compelling entertainment. I mean, look at this close-up shot from the climactic fight sequence. Nothing but blurry, desaturated clutter. In regards to the music, DC Comics is once again shamelessly playing catch-up as they attempt to mimic the incredible Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. Rather than connecting these songs to the narrative any compelling or emotional way, they're just haphazardly used as 10-second leitmotifs, a distracting afterthought that not only ruins their effectiveness, but illustrates how desperate this film is to keep things fun. Suicide Squad may have a couple memorable characters and sequences, but it lacks cohesion or purpose. Whether you lay blame at Ayer's feet or with the studio executives, the end result is the same, a jumbled mess of periodically entertaining moments lost amongst their surroundings. Suicide Squad is an unfocused waste of a promising cast. I thought it was meh. Next up, my review of Wonder Woman. Talk about girl power. This $150 million production was the surprise success of the summer, grossing over $820 million after its June 2, 2017 release, making it the highest grossing film ever directed by a woman. An impressive accomplishment for Patty Jenkins, whose last theatrical project was over a decade ago. The 2-hour and 21-minute story is based on the DC Comics character of the same name, who leaves her safe and secret island home of Amazon women to help an American pilot fight evil during the First World War. This is easily the strongest entry yet in DC's burgeoning cinematic universe, even if that is, admittedly, a low bar. Portraying the title character is Gal Gadot, with the best performance of her skyrocketing career. Her fierce strength and headstrong attitudes are carefully balanced by an optimistic naivety that allows her character some amusing dialogue that would otherwise sound cheesy. Plus, the 5'10" Israeli actress is sexy as hell. Her beautiful eyes and long legs were a legitimate distraction. Opposite, the equally attractive Chris Pine is effortless as the Mr. in Distress, a welcome role reversal for the traditional Hollywood archetype. He holds his own and provides a great deal of this picture's expositional foundation, but isn't quite as capable without his Amazon girlfriend around. Remarking on the tragedy of the First Great War, he admits, "You can either do nothing or you can do something, and I already tried nothing." His romance with Gadot is a foregone conclusion from the moment she saves him from a plane crash, but their on-screen chemistry actually feels heartfelt and earned. Plus, their awkward meet-cute moment, which has Pine trying to hold a conversation while completely nude, is rather adorable. In a refreshing change of pace for DC, the battle sequences aren't a chaotic mess of particles and dust, but a reasonably well-choreographed array of bullet-time-esque flips, kicks, and sword swings, all beat-matched to the incredible score from Rupert Gregson-Williams. The visuals are mostly well executed, but seem a bit too cartoonish and fake whenever Gadot executes some of her more implausible superhero-style moves. Cinematically though, it looks as flawless as her skin, especially during a pivotal scene between battlefield trenches in No Man's Land.
Diana! What the bloody hell is she playing at?
The first act of the film is set entirely on Wonder Woman's magical island home of Themyscira, and it's here where the PG-13 rated film excels the best, thanks to a strong supporting performance from the gorgeous Robin Wright. The world building is fascinating and well handled, while the locations themselves are lush and expansive. We watch a Wonder Girl train under generals to become a Wonder Woman, providing some much needed backstory to a character that was heretofore introduced rather unceremoniously in an earlier film. This is a serious movie that never takes itself too seriously, allowing it to pull off the emotional beats as well as the lighthearted quips. Although hardly a side splitter, the result is definitely the funniest DC movie since the unintentional joke that was Batman and Robin. Besides the familiar elements inherent in this genre, my only major criticism is pacing, which tends to peter out towards the end thanks to a lengthy and unnecessary detour that only seems to exist so Gadot can strut into a German gala wearing a pretty blue dress. And yeah, she looked great, but the entire 15-minute sequence could and should have been excised. The plot structure may be conventional, but the people behind and in front of the camera certainly aren't. If this movie featured a male lead and was directed by a man, it would still be an enjoyable comic book film. But Wonder Woman is a breakthrough because it isn't that. An affirmation of the better sex's many talents and a love letter to female empowerment. This is exactly the kind of movie the world needs right now. I thought it was awesome. Finally, my thoughts on Justice League. Close, but no cigar. The fifth installment in the DC Extended Universe was released nationwide on November 17, 2017 to mixed reviews and disappointing box office returns. Now normally $650 million isn't disappointing, but with a production budget north of $300 million, Justice League is the most expensive non-Pirates movie ever made, so it needed to earn quite a bit more to match expectations. The PG-13 rated comic book action film continues where Batman v Superman left off. Inspired by Superman's sacrifice, Batman assembles a team of superheroes to face mankind's most dangerous foe yet, Ben Affleck returns as the Batman, portraying him with slightly more humor and hope than in his earlier appearances, describing his power as being rich. I still prefer Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, but Batfleck is definitely growing on me. The flawlessly beautiful Gal Gadot returns as well, and is expectedly fantastic as Wonder Woman. Her effortless charisma carries every scene she's in. Henry Cavill doesn't show up until the final act, but does serviceable work as the Man of Steel, digitally removed mustache and all. Ezra Miller's turn as the Flash is a breath of fresh air for the franchise, injecting some much needed and often effective levity and sarcasm.
Silica-based quartz sand fabric, abrasion resistant, heat resistant.
Yeah, I do competitive ice dancing.
What they use on the space shuttle to prevent it from burning up on re-entry.
I do very competitive ice dancing. Whoever you're looking for, it's not me.
The hunky Jason Momoa, pessimistic Ray Fisher, and wise Jeremy Irons round out the cast with solid, if forgettable, parts. The big problem, however, is that outside of single-scene cameos, none of the new team members were properly introduced in earlier movies. Indeed, Wonder Woman is the only participant to have received a true standalone film beforehand. Warner Brothers saw the success Marvel had with the Avengers and desperately wanted to mimic that ensemble film's massive success. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. You need to lay the groundwork and build a universe of characters over time. The impatience of this franchise is its very undoing. 120 minutes simply isn't enough time to bring all of these larger-than-life characters together, let alone have the audience actually care about them. Comic fans with prerequisite knowledge of these heroes and properties may be able to overlook the hurried exposition, but as a standalone experience, Justice League feels rushed and incomplete. This is most clearly evident with the main baddie, a generic alien demon thing who wants to collect boxes to destroy the planet for some dumb reason. His characterization is paper-thin, utterly uninteresting, and honestly one of the worst villains of this genre. All that being said though, the deficiencies of this movie's antagonists are ultimately immaterial, as the main attraction here really is the titular world-saving squad, assembled on the big screen for the first time. To that end, the only real requirement for this type of movie is to include one slow-motion hero shot of the entire group during the climactic fight. Just one. This basic linchpin of superhero filmmaking unfortunately seems to elude director Zack Snyder, as the protagonists often feel like they're performing in separate movies. The closest thing we get in Justice League to that triumphant, crowd-pleasing moment is Supes' surprise entrance and clunky one-liner about being a fan of justice. A piece of dialogue just as likely to elicit jeers than cheers. On the plus side, however, the switch to a taller 16:9 frame allows Snyder to really capture the action sequences with steadier, wider setups. Plus, the more we get to see of Gal's impeccable bone structure, the better. Speaking of action, the best showcase arrives when our heroes attempt to battle a newly resurrected and very confused Superman. The moment when the Flash notices him clocking his supersonic speed and is immediately taken aback is definitely my favorite in the film. Unable to finish production due to personal reasons, Snyder was replaced by Joss Whedon to complete post-production and reshoots. But neither director's trademark styles is present here. Instead, everything feels flat, safe, and predictable. The movie's inconsistent tone and detrimentally short runtime is likely a result of this made-by-committee approach. Whedon also replaced Snyder's longtime collaborator Junkie XL with veteran comic book composer Danny Elfman. Borrowing a few famous cues from earlier films, including his own, the score is a nice mix of traditional orchestral fanfare, but is starkly different than this franchise's previous sound. But unlike its 2016 predecessors, Justice League is never offensively bad, it just lacks vision and personality. The entire adventure is rote. To quote Jurassic Park's Ian Malcolm, Warner Brothers was so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. The result is a film that occasionally succeeds in spite of itself. A far cry from the home run it should have been, Justice League is a middling experience with flashes of excitement, mired by wasted potential. Very flawed, but still very watchable. I thought it was good. For tonight's poll question, what's your favorite movie in the DCEU so far, and why is it Wonder Woman? No, but seriously, leave your response as a comment below. On the next 2 episodes, I'll be sharing my list of the best and worst movies of 2017, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, click or tap here to watch a playlist of all my superhero movies, here to watch a video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy, or the Patreon icon below to support my content financially. Your help is needed now more than ever, so I appreciate you considering it. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula, thanks for watching, and have a good movie night.